Hello guys, welcome to another vlog. And basically I did finish last vlog and started another one. I'm actually waiting for my files to get ready to start editing last vlog, and I've gotten something that I'm very excited to show you. So I've been working on this for a bit and they are here and I wanted to show them to you. So I got some prints from some of my artworks and they are on my Etsy shop right now. So these are like postcard sized, and I have like two versions. So I have, these are from paintings of mine that I've done in the past. And then I've also made some of my sketches. Let me show them to you properly. Here we are. So you've probably seen some of these sketch pages already. And yeah, I've been really excited to show you this because like I've been an artist for a very long time. And I've never sold my own work, like not printing them. I've done like print on demand stuff on Redbubble, for example, but never printed them myself and sold them. Mostly because like it always made me very nervous to print stuff and then like realizing that it's wrong somehow, the colors or something. But in the past years, I've started doing more traditional art. And I've been really enjoying that. And I thought I could make something with them and share them with you somehow. So I've made these postcards that you can now get on my shop. You can either choose one that you enjoy or buy them as a set. And personally, I really like this one. And as you can see, it's a bit glossy, like not overly glossy, but a little bit. And it's so cute. So yeah, I have this right now. I'm really happy about them. Let me show them to you a bit. So we have the bluebird that you've seen me painting some vlogs ago. Mostly of this, the paintings, you've seen me making this in past vlogs. So we got the bluebird. This was my most recent painting that I really like. It looks so pretty. I'm so happy with this. Also this one, this was one of my first paintings a few years ago. And I really like how you can tell this is done traditionally. Like you can tell that it has some cuttings in there that I glued. You can tell this is paint. I really like that you can notice the texture in them. So really cute. Then I have these tangerines and this space cat that I always really like how the background looks. And this one was the one I was the most nervous about because of all these colors. And I was a bit afraid the colors will be messed up, but no, it's beautiful and it's actually one of my favorites, I think. Then as for the sketches, I have this one, this house. I feel this one is very summery. And once again, you can really tell the colored pencils in them. Then I have this dogs page that I really enjoyed making. Some houses that I actually made a digital version of this a few weeks ago, but I still prefer my sketch. A coffee one. I think this would look great on the kitchen. If you have that a coffee corner, for example, I think it would look very cute. And some green tomatoes. So like, do let me know in the comments which one is your favorite, or which ones actually. I think for me, like my favorites are these two, which I was not expecting. These were the ones I was the most nervous about and are the ones I ended up loving the most. So I'm very happy with how this looks. I will leave you a link down below in the description so you can see them on my Etsy shop. they are available over there. But yeah, as I said, I did take a break from the cold porcelain, and in between that I was working on these prints. Like most of these things, I already had the art. I just had to set everything up, figuring out how I will print them and the sizes and everything. And I realized that personally, I really like this postcard size, especially if you don't have a whole lot of space to put up art. I think this is a perfect size, and in general, I do like smaller artwork than bigger things. So yeah, I did decide to go with this postcard size. Also, it's perfect if you want to send to anyone, like write a little message at the back and send to any of your friends. I think it is a perfect size for that. And for this week, I do have, and I just realized I totally forgot to bring them with me to show you them. But I did start making some bigger magnets. So like they are not gigantic, but they have a bigger size than my usual magnets. And I want to make a few more of those. And I thought I could show you basically my process from start to finish of making clay, air dry clay in this case, and kind of a mini tutorial on how I go about it, show you all the steps and explaining why I do the things that I do. And that's what I have planned for this week. So that's what we're going to be doing. And if you do have any questions about air dry clay or even cold porcelain, like feel free to write it in the comments. I'm always available to answer any questions you might have, anything from the air dry clay, my classes even, and my shop as well, since it's something very recent. So if you have any questions, just write them down in the comments and I'll be sure to answer you. And yeah, will there be any baking or something this week? I don't know. I think we're going to keep things simple this week and focus on the process, my process of air dry clay, and I do hope you enjoy that. Alright, I have everything I need. And before we start talking about the things, I also grabbed the magnets I was talking about. So these are bigger magnets, so they're like about 1 centimeter bigger than my usual magnets. So I have this apple, onigiri, and cat, of course. So I'm going to be making only one of these designs right now, not for a huge reason. It's just that it's easier for me to just make a series of one design and then go for the next and the next. And I think I'm going to do the onigiri one since it is the easier shape, so it's going to be a bit quicker to do everything and to explain to you the whole process. So first things first, I will be showing you the process step by step, and the first part is actually using the clay, preparing it and sculpting the piece you want to make. I will try to put some timestamps for each part of the process of making a whole magnet, so it is easier for you to find the part that you want. And yeah, for this part, what are we going to need? So of course we're going to need our air dry clay. I'm using the dust clay, no specific reason, I like it so far. I did use the Jovi one as well before, and I've talked about it in other videos, but between Jovi and this one, I prefer this one because I feel it is easier to sculpt and it's not as sticky. The Jovi one is very sticky and it will kind of gather all the dust that it can. This one, not as much. They are very, price-wise, they are very similar. The air dry clay in general, any brand that you'll find, it's usually pretty affordable, and they all have more or less the same prices. You can get it, this one is white, I think, but there are other colors. You can get it in terracotta, gray, I think even black. I prefer this color because most of my pieces are pretty light, so it is easier for me to paint later on. So my clay, Then I usually, for this kind of pieces, for the magnets, I have made in paper a few templates of the pieces I want to make, so it is easy to replicate them instead of just doing it by hand every single time. So in this case I'm going to use this one, which is basically a triangle, a bit rounded. Then I'm going to use a rolling pin and these two sticks to get the height I want for my magnets. Now, are these 100% necessary, especially when you're starting? No. Honestly, when I first started doing air dry clay, and you can actually see this on previous videos of mine, I used like a lid from a plastic container to flatten my clay. I would use a glass jar to roll it down, so you can do that as well. I just have this at the moment, so I will use them and it's easier to use. Like, rolling pins are also pretty cheap at the dollar store. These are just two sticks and I put some tape around them. Some people use chopsticks, for example, so even if you want to do something like this, I'm pretty sure you can find something in our home and makeshift something that can do both of this. We'll also need some water and a sponge so we can smooth out our clay. And finally, I'm going to use this X-Acto knife for cutting out the shapes. And this is basically all you need. I also have here one tool, but this is mostly to show you. So this is a silicone tool, and this can help you out in smoothing or gluing some parts of your clay together. I don't really use this when doing the magnets because this is just this very simple surface and I can use my fingers to smooth everything out, so I don't really need this. But if you want, you can get something like this. There are those tool kits with all of them. I do have one of those and honestly I mostly just use this one. So yeah, just so you know that you don't really need a whole lot of supplies right away. For this kind of thing, like a knife, something to flatten out your clay, some water, a sponge that you probably have at home, and that's it, you're set and we can start doing things. So yeah, I'm going to just to change here my camera a bit, but we can start. So I'm just going to grab some clay. I just grabbed a random quantity of clay right now. We will see how many we'll make. It will depend, we'll just see. And yeah, first let's just prepare it a bit, turn it more malleable. This can also depend on where you live. If you live in very humid places, your clay is going to be pretty humid as well. If you live in a drier place, maybe you'll have to do this for a bit longer. Usually, if you have it stored well, the clay keeps very well humid, so it's almost ready to use. Okay. So I'm just going to lay it down like this. Now I'm going to use the sticks and put one on each side. And now using the rolling pin, I'm going to flatten down my clay. The sticks basically help you keeping the dough, let's say, all in the same height. Wow, this is a bit, I need to get up for this. Okay, we can make quite a few with this quantity. Okay, before doing anything else, I'm going to smooth out here my clay a little bit using my sponge, just a little bit of water. We don't need a lot right now. We'll smooth out these wrinkles that we see here. Let's turn it the other way and do the same. We'll have much more here. All right, I'm going to leave it like this. And now I'm going to grab my knife and my template. And I'm going to cut out the shapes, just a few of them. I think we can do maybe 3 or 4 with this. So I just go around the paper with my knife. I don't go all the way down yet. I'll do that afterwards. Just drawing the general shape basically. Also not very perfect with this. We can fix these corners later. All right. Can remove this, we don't need it anymore, and now I'm going to cut all of this, each piece. So I'll just go around the lines that I just made and cut it all the way through. Careful to not damage my desk. Another reason to have a proper surface for doing this. We have here 1 and 2. 3 and just 1 more. Now, of course, I'm not letting this go to waste. I'll just join it with the rest of my clay. I could do more, but for the sake of the video, I'll just keep the rest of the clay and I can do more another day. Right, so this part is also done. We don't need the knife anymore. And now what we want to do is smooth out our edges a bit, because as you can see when I cut, we have here a few rough edges. So I'll just go around with some water and smooth everything out. So I have here my water and this is it, like very simple. I also don't take a whole long in this part because we're also going to sand these pieces and those rough edges disappear there as well. Also, I do like to keep some of these imperfections because I like them. I'm not looking into making perfect pieces. If I wanted that, I wouldn't be doing them by hand. This is also a very simple shape, so it doesn't take long to smooth out these edges. There we go. Let me just show you with another one so you can see the difference. Let me see the back. We're good. Okay, 1. Okay, so this part is done, this stage. So very simple, as you can see, basically deciding what you want to make. If it is a simple design like this, you can do it on paper, the main shape on paper as you saw, and then put it on top of your clay, draw it and cut it. If it's something a bit more complex, then you'll have to be sculpting it by hand in a different way. I'm just giving you a very simple example right now, an easy one to start with. So yeah, cut it, then smooth it out with some water, and now the next step is basically just to let it dry. Basically, you just need to leave this in a place where it doesn't get direct sunlight, otherwise it might crack because it's too much light and temperature. Usually, again, depends on where you live, but between 24 to 48 hours this will be completely dry. And yes, we do need to leave them completely dry before doing anything else, otherwise it will just retain humidity inside and it might start damaging the piece later on. So that's what I'm going to do right now, and yeah, we can continue this once this is completely dry. Everything is all dry. You can even hear this sound, which is very positive that it is dry. One thing that I didn't mention before, but the clay, once it dries, it diminishes in size. So this is something to take into account when you're making your pieces. especially if you want them to have a certain kind of thickness. They will lose some of it once it dries. So you have to be a bit careful if you want to make thin stuff, so you don't make it too thin or it can break easily. But yeah, it's all very dry right now, and now I'm going to sand these pieces. What do I use for this? First of all, you should be in a very well ventilated place. So, because this creates a lot of fine dust and it's not good for you. So be sure you can at least you have a place with a window that you can open. And I always wear a mask and some gloves. I'm always in a well ventilated place, but I still wear a mask because the dust just goes everywhere. And the gloves as well, so I don't have my hands all dirty and it's easier to clean later on. I will use some sandpaper. This is one of the hardest ones, but you don't need, it can be a bit softer. Usually you can find this like in papers, in pieces of paper or in a roll. So you can easily find this in the dollar store or something. And yeah, some sandpaper, a brush, and a piece of fabric just to clean my pieces later on. Now I'm going to try to do something a bit different this time, because someone told me that you can actually use a container with water and sand your pieces above it, so the dust falls onto the water and stays there, so you don't have as much dust floating around. So I'm going to try that out and we'll see how it goes. And yeah, we'll just sand everything out until it is smoother than it was before. How smooth the pieces will be, it's totally up to you. I try to smooth them out so it looks a bit rounder and it looks a little bit prettier than it originally was, but I also like to leave some imperfections there. So it's totally up to the artist and how you want your pieces to look.
Kettle hums in the other room, morning bends across the floor.
Okay, so I finished sanding them, and now I'm going to use the piece of fabric and brush just to remove the majority of dust that is still on these pieces, and then we can go to the next step. Also, as you can see, the water container actually worked very well. I don't have my surroundings too dirty. So it's pretty cool if you are in a smaller space and you can't have a lot of ventilation there. Be sure to still use the mask and to open your window, but the container with water does work very well and my surroundings aren't very dirty. So that's great, that works. Alright, so everything is properly sanded. It's all good. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply the magnets before painting. This is a very simple step and you can find magnets almost anywhere at a dollar store or anything. If you need something stronger, these are pretty strong actually, but if you need anything stronger, you can also easily find it online at least. But yeah, you can find some magnets at the dollar store and use them. And usually I try to find the strongest glue I can to glue this to my pieces, mostly because a lot of the glues sometimes, even if they are strong, especially with pins, the magnets are not as problematic since they will be like in your fridge or something, so you don't move them around a lot. But I found that a lot of glue just isn't strong enough, and like a simple pull that is a bit stronger will separate the bag from the piece. So yeah, I like to find the strongest glue I can. And it's also good to use your knife and do some scratches before applying the glues, just so everything connects a bit better.
Dust moves slow like tiny moons, drifting where you stood before. I don't chase the things we lost. Some are better left like rain, falling softly.
Alright, then I leave them to dry a bit because just so like this dries pretty quickly, but I want to paint the pieces and I don't want the magnet to be moving around, so I'll just leave it here for a few minutes and then I can come back and start painting the pieces. Okay, this is dry, it won't fall off, so now I'm going to start painting. And since these are some simple rice bowls, I'm only going to be using white paint to add a few layers of paint. Usually, like, this is already white, so I don't really need a whole lot of paint here, but I usually do like 2 to 3 layers of paint, just so I have a very bright white. And then once everything is dry, I will use markers to do the rest of the drawing. So I'll paint one layer, let it dry completely, paint another one, let it dry, and paint another one. So very simple. I am using acrylic paint, but you can use gouache, for example. You don't really need a very specific brand or anything. Whatever you have at home will be enough, or you can just find like a pack of paint at the dollar store or paint the tubes the specific colors you want. It's all up to you. Anything will do, really.
Leaving circles on the pane, and I still hear your quiet laugh in the hallway in the dark.
Alright, so these are all now properly dry. Like I said, just white paint. I made about 3 layers of paint, and like this is kind of up to preference, really. Like I do like to have a proper white and color on my pieces, but let's say like I could have leave it as it was because the clay is already white. So it's really up to preference. Like for example, let's say you have the terracotta one, that reddish clay, and you could leave it as is if that's the color you want on your clay. So now I have to add the details, and for that I'm going to use some markers. So this is the design I have. So I have to paint the seaweed and then draw a little face. So yeah, I could actually paint this with an actual brush and paint. I just find it easier to use markers for this. So pretty simple design, as you can see. And I'm going to be using, so I have here a Posca pen in black and an Art X brush pen. I'm going to be using this one, the brush one, mostly because I feel I can control better what I'm drawing. It is easier for me, but again, matter of preference, totally up to you. Also brands, it doesn't need to be a Posca or an Art X. There are so many brands nowadays for this kind of thing. These are acrylic markers, that's all you need to know. And the brand you use, like, I admit I've never tried those cheaper brands that you can find nowadays, but you could try it because honestly I feel that nowadays we have so much stuff available to us that we don't really need to be spending a whole lot of money to have some fun with crafting. If you're doing this as a hobby and you're just starting, like, try out something that is not too expensive that you can perhaps find in your dollar store or the supermarkets and see how it goes. Like, I cannot vouch for them because I've never tried it, but I do believe that you can do some cute things with them. All right, so yeah, I'm going to be using this one. For the blush, I'm going to be using this other Art X brush pen. And for the minor details, so for the small face, I'm going to be using this Pentel fine liner. Again, don't need to use this specific brand, just use whatever you have at home. This is the kind of things, like, I could tell you the brands of the things I'm using, what kind of tip I'm using, but the truth is you'll have to try and see what you like best because we're all very different, and depending on what we're doing, you'll have different preferences. So that's why I tell you that when you're starting these kinds of things, just go for something cheap. so you can try different things and you're not spending too much money. If you don't like them, then it's fine. You can also, like, if you have artist friends, ask them to try those things out. They will probably let you borrow those for a while, like share stuff with each other and just have some fun. And then you will see, when you realize what you like, you can then upgrade it for something better. So yeah, I'm just going to draw out these things, and then all we have to do is varnish everything once it is dry. Sometimes when painting these bigger areas, I like to try to start small and then grow from there, because that way if I make any mistake, it's easier to fix. Instead, if I do my main shape right away in the proper size, I can make some mistake, and it's a bit more difficult to try and fix that. And of course, no two pieces will look the same, so like, don't worry about it, all right? You're doing handmade stuff. Handmade stuff isn't perfect. Now for this, like, it is already quite good with just one layer, but I usually like to make 2 layers just to be sure that it's all even out. I would just go through the overall shape. It's usually easier the second part because the shape is already done. You just have to be sure you're drawing inside of it. All right, so this is done. Next, it's time to draw the face and add a little bit of blush. For me, this is the hardest part because, like, as you can see, I draw the face fairly small. And my hands, as you know, do tremble a lot, as you can see, like, it's always moving. So I'm always afraid of drawing small details because it can go very easily, it can go wrong. But listen, you can do it. We can do this. If I can do this, even if my hands are very trembly, then you can do this as well, all right? Believe in yourself.
Cold left by the door, like a half-forgotten spark.
All right, now all we have to do is add the blush. And this is just like 2 dots, one on each side. There they are. Our onigiri are ready. Now I am going to leave this just for a few minutes. It doesn't need to be a whole lot, but I just like to be sure that everything is really properly dry before adding the varnish, so it doesn't like dilute anything and start just dirtying everything. We don't want that. So just leave it to dry for a few more minutes, and then we can add some varnish and it is ready. So these are all finished, so let me show you. 2 glossy and cute onigiri and 2 more. So as you can see, very simple designs but very cute. I feel like, yeah, it might take a bit of time because you will have to wait for things to dry in each step of the process, but depending on the kind of piece you're making, and specifically these ones, like making some magnets, these can be very quick to make. And yeah, these are simple pieces, but honestly the principle is more or less the same for making other things in clay, or at least the steps are the same. You will start with preparing your clay, sculpt it, waiting for it to dry, sand it, paint, add details, and then some varnish. So yeah, it's kind of the same process. Also for the varnish, I did not specifically show you the varnish. I will try to leave you here some images as I mentioned them, but usually I use a spray acrylic varnish. There's not really a specific reason for that, it's just what I prefer to use. I find it is quicker. I like the glossiness of it. Also, you can get it matte or glossy. Usually I use it glossy, but yeah, I feel like it is quicker to apply to your pieces, and you can just go around the piece. You add one layer of it, wait for a minute or two, and then another one for extra protection and glossiness. And personally, this is what I prefer to do. I also have some acrylic varnish that you use a brush to apply, but I never really liked the result of it, the effect. Like if I do pass my brush with the varnish more than once, it will start to dilute the paint. And yeah, that was kind of annoying. I'm not sure if it was the varnish I was using or if it was the paint, if this is usual to happen, or yeah, if I was doing something wrong, but I did not like that, and I could have figured that out. However, I did not like the end effect of the varnish on my pieces. It wasn't as glossy, it wasn't very fun. I know, I just didn't like the look of it, so I only tried it like once or twice and never used it again. Then I did try to use the spray, and that's what I prefer so far. It's very quick, really. You just put it in a bit of cardboard so you do not dirty anything around you, and just spray it through your pieces and it's done. I do know that some people will like dip the pieces inside of an acrylic varnish. Never try that, but again, I do feel it takes a bit more effort than just using the spray. Also, very important, just like with sanding, when you are varnishing your pieces, especially if you're using the spray, be sure to be in a very ventilated place, because that is not good for you. The spray will kind of go everywhere and you don't want to be breathing that. And yes, of course, if you're just like varnishing 4 pieces, doing this just like once a month or once a week, it's not perhaps super dangerous, but I do think that creating that habit from the start is a good idea. Like you are not wasting that much time by being in a well-ventilated place and by opening a window, even using a mask perhaps. It's just small adjustments that you can do and that will protect you a bit better. So yeah, as I was saying, the principles are kind of like the same. You will go through all the same steps like sculpting, sanding, painting and varnishing. But of course, if you are creating a piece that requires more details or that requires more sculpting from you, it might take a bit longer. It might not, it will take longer, but like you already know kind of the basics of it, and then it is a matter of experimenting and trying other things. And we are reaching the end of this video, and as you can see, it was a bit different this time around. I hope you did enjoy it. I tried to keep it more of a tutorial like and not mixing with all the other things I usually do in my videos, in my vlogs. And I also wanted to talk to you about my newest class, which is all about air dry clay. So in this class, we will be making these kinds of magnets, so big magnets like this one, because I feel that bigger magnets are a bit easier to start with than with smaller ones. So yeah, we'll be making this onigiri along with 2 other designs, and I will accompany you through all the stages of making these pieces. It is much more detailed than this video, of course. I do give you more tips on the materials that I'm using. I will show everything that I'm using. I will also be giving you some templates to help you start out, as well as a checklist, so you have everything you need to start doing some air dry clay. And you can actually find this class on my Gumroad page. You can watch it there, and I will leave you a link down below in the description if you want to check it out. I would love to see you there, and if you have any questions, do let me know. Thank you all so much for watching this video to the end, and thank you for your support as always, and I will see you in the next video.